Good morning, friends. So this is the first video that I've made since my dad passed away, and that was tomorrow. It's going to be 3 weeks, so for 20 days now. I haven't spoken to my dad physically in 20 days, and that number is just going to keep going up as it does. It's the cycle of life, right? Still very difficult. I've cried more than I've ever cried in my life. I just choked on so many tears, and right now I seem to be pretty stable, so I figured maybe a good time to make a video. So, my first video that I've made since my dad's passing, I wanted to make this in honor and memory of my dad, and there's going to be more coming. But there's something that we did for the past, I don't know how many years now, quite a few years, almost every morning, and I was here for a lot of mornings. I'm at my parents' house, it's our kitchen table. My dad would sit right here. I would usually sit right here. Before my mom got up, she liked to sleep in late, and we would have a glass of Shakeology together and maybe watch TV and talk about whatever, something I really enjoy doing with my dad. And Shakeology is a superfood shake that I've been drinking and selling for years, and my dad was so proud of me because my dad, he hates the typical behavior of a typical telemarketer or somebody with something to sell, but he was so proud of me, the way that I conducted myself and the way that I treated everybody. And my dad got so, I'm going to show you how he liked it. There's a real easy, simple, plain Jane way that he loved his Shakeology. So I'm going to make it for you. I'll show you how it's done. And if you're interested in trying some, you're more than welcome to contact me with info about it, as well as a purchasing site to buy it for yourself from my website, where I would get a commission in the spirit of full honesty and disclosure, which goes to what my dad loved about me and how I did this. I didn't hide anything. I'm completely transparent, and my dad loved that. And so I'm going to show you how to make it, and it's really simple. But we would have this every morning, and the health benefits that my dad got from it were so tremendous. His doctor, Dr. Habel out of Kenosha, Wisconsin, he literally said that my dad had no right to expect to be alive, and that he had no right to expect to be here if not for the help that he was getting from the Shakeology. So I got to keep my dad around for an extra nine years. I got to keep my dad around because of, in part, because of the health benefits that he was getting from drinking this shake every day, this superfood Shakeology every day. So I can't make a claim like that, but his doctor did, and I'm going to cite that. I'm going to harp on that till, the rest of my life, all day long. So, and he enjoyed the taste. He always said, "Tom, I'm open, I'm willing to try new things, but I'm not going to eat it or drink it if it doesn't taste good." So this tasted good. He enjoyed it. So imagine that. So I'm going to show you how I do this, and hopefully this will work out doing this video selfie style. But I basically just had a NutriBullet or a blender. Here's the Shakeology. The vegan version, I do this myself, vegan, CV for vegan. My dad did the non-vegan one. The main difference is they use whey protein, which is a dairy product, for the bulk of the protein in this one, and the vegan does not. It's all plant-based. But for this video, I'm actually going to, as a rarity, I'm going to do the non-vegan one, the regular one. So let's get going with that. I might have to set this down for a moment so that I can work this. But, that works. How about that? Actually, before I do a scoop, I would do the water first so it doesn't stick to the bottom. So some filtered water in a cup. I'm probably doing about 8 to 10 ounces of water. And 1 heaping scoop of this delicious chocolate superfood shake that my dad loved. And my dad did not eat the cleanest diet, so this was a counterbalance to, I guess the typical meat and potatoes diet that isn't really that healthy. But the only other thing that my dad would add is a handful of ice. I put it right in there like so. Then I'll take the cap to this right here like so. typically do this with 2 hands. For this, I'm going to need 2 hands, so I have to tighten this down, otherwise it's going to splash and go all over. And that's about it. There's really nothing to blend up in there. So it doesn't need to go on for 10-20 seconds like if I added other things. And that's it. I would usually make it for my dad, and then I'd make mine, and I'd sit down with him right over here, and we drink to our health together. And I miss that so badly. God, I really miss my dad. I love you, Dad, and having one the way you liked it. Sometimes I would add pineapple chunks, and he enjoyed that. And sometimes I'd put a 1 drop of cinnamon bark in there, which he also thought was good, but that's about as exotic as he ever got with it. And with mine, sometimes, even if I didn't feel like it, I would add all these greens to it, this kale, spinach, whatever, arugula. I'd be like, look, Dad, you sure you don't want this stuff added in there? You know, this green stuff? And he'd just shake his head. He wasn't really into that. And it was so cute, and it was so cool. And, of course, I wanted him to eat more greens, but you know what? He got his Shakeology, and there's a ton of greens in here masked with the flavor of this beautiful, tasty chocolate. So here's to you, Dad. Even plain Jane like this. It is so good. I just love it. So I'm going to talk for a moment while I sit in my dad's chair or mine. I sit in my dad's chair. And this is totally like the recycle bag over there. This is a pro video. I'm just going to talk for a minute completely off the cuff for those of you that are interested in hearing me talk about my dad and the kind of man that he was. So my dad, he always supported it. He always supported everything that I ever wanted to do. As long as it wasn't self-destructive or causing harm, which I was never into that kind of thing. So he pretty much always supported everything. Sometimes if there was going to be a financial investment, he'd have to make sure I was committed, and I would have to, pass a certain test or whatever, where I was showing my dedication, and once that happened, he was all in. Anything I ever wanted to do, and I never let him down. I was always somebody that, if I wanted to start something and I was serious about it, I would see it through. And if there was problems, because anything worth doing, there's going to be problems, I would figure it out. When the going got tough, the tough got going. It's just the way that I am. And my dad was very proud of me. And my dad was a senior chief in the Navy, career Navy man. A lot of people knew him as Senior Chief Birkenmeyer, and they'd salute him. And I knew him as Dad. And my dad was a problem solver. He once said, there's not an electronic casualty that I cannot solve if given enough time. So whether it's an electronic casualty or whatever the problem is, when the going gets tough, man, tough get going. And a lot of people quit. So there's that contrast. People like me and my dad, I guess you'd call us A-type personalities. That's been a more modern thing to call us. But in contrast to the A-type personalities, when the going gets tough, people quit. So that adds a tremendous amount of value. The opposite of one adds value to the other. And that's something that my dad and I, that's a trait that we shared, man. We saw stuff through, and it's so incredible. And because of that, people around us tend to trust us, even if they don't like us. But man, just about everybody loved my dad, because he made people laugh. He had all these puns and all these jokes, and he loved laughing, and he really loved making people laugh. Oh my God, I miss that so much. And he was extremely intelligent. He had encyclopedic knowledge about anything that he was really deeply interested in knowing about, like sports and sports statistics and electronics and fire control, like, big guns in the military, and trivial knowledge about whatever. My dad wrote training programs. Even, gosh, when he was in the Navy, he was also a teacher and a leader, because he was a senior chief. But sometimes he'd look at the training manuals for whatever, and he'd be like, this is inadequate. I can do better than this. And nobody would ask him. He'd just step up and he'd rewrite training manuals and make them better. And then the Navy adopted them. They agreed and said, yeah, this is better. And they wrote these reviews and reports, and some of them I was just reading the other day when going through his stuff about how things improved. I don't remember exactly the wording of it, but I read the stuff typed up by different commanders commanding different ships in the Navy, talking about how my dad's new training manuals and new training procedures and so forth actually improved things. And it's like, wow, go Dad. Good job. It's incredible. And my dad likes to listen to people. Can you imagine that? Somebody that's in his position of authority and leadership and the genius that he was. He loved to have an understanding of the men that worked under him, and in his personal life he wanted to have an understanding of people, and he listened. He was a good listener. And from my point of view, he always listened to me anytime I had a question for him. I was a very curious kid growing up, and I'm still curious. I ask questions all the time, and I think that's a good trait to have as an entrepreneur, to be curious instead of making questions about, or making statements about why I can't do this or that. I always had questions like, what if? But growing up, I asked him so many questions. I wanted to know why things were the way that they were and how things worked. He never rushed me. He never had this attitude of be seen and not heard like some parents have with their kids, and shame on those parents, man. Shame on any parent that treats their kid that way, but my dad was not that way. He's listened and he answered all my questions. And a lot of times his answers would just invoke more questions. It's like, oh, well, now I got these new questions. And he would answer them. It was amazing. And I learned so much from him. He was the most amazing dad. And more than a dad, he was a teacher, a mentor. And I can't stop crying. And I'm not editing this. I'm keeping it on. I think my dad wasn't really a crier. Once in a while, a couple times I remember seeing him tear up, but he was one of those that wasn't a crier in public. Maybe he did more privately, I don't know. But I remember when his mom died, my grandma, he teared up a little bit. And I remember him talking to my Aunt Barbara on the phone, and you could hear it in his voice a little bit that he was crying. And there might have been one or two other instances where I remember him crying, but I think my dad might be proud of me that I'm just sort of, because I'm not much of a crier either, but through all of this, man, oh my God, I've cried so much, and I never held back, and I don't feel bad about it. I've just been crying in front of anybody that's around me when I cry. I think this is the first video. Yeah, I'm pretty sure of it. I don't think I've ever teared up at all on a video, so this would be the first. But I had moments, many moments, for a while where I would just cry uncontrollably. His shoulders would heave up and down, and I would just lose it. And it was so bad I couldn't talk or hardly breathe because the crying got so bad, and my face was just redder than red, and my eyes all puffy, and constant streams of tears just running down my face. I've had many instances like that, and you know what? It actually feels kind of good. It does feel kind of good to get a good cry out. I've had many good cries, and it's kind of liberating. But I think I'm going to end this video here soon. And for those of you that want to try this stuff out, for you, for people that you love and care about, I'll be harping on it all day long, I suppose. Tastes so good. I'll make another couple videos showing you a couple different ways that my dad liked it. The pretty simple ways too, but this is just ice and the chocolate Shakeology and water blended up, and that's it. And it is so good just like that. We took it with us on trips, hotels. It goes through the airport just fine as carry-on or checked luggage. It doesn't matter. And we never left home without it. And we bring a blender bottle or a shaker cup with us for hotel visits, because it's kind of hard to put a blender on an airplane. And, oh, I'm going to read to you a poem that my dad wrote, and I'm going to make another video reading this too, where I read it more in the front, because I have no idea how many of you are still on here 15 minutes in. But my dad wrote a poem back in 2011. We had already been drinking this for a couple years, I would say. And we got the news from my dad's doctor that he has no right to be alive except for the Shakeology. Again, I can't make that claim because it's highly illegal, but the doctor did. Dr. Habel from Kenosha. I think it was over my birthday. My dad loved poetry. This is one of his shorter poems, and this might be one of the last poems he did. I'm pretty sure he did one for his 50th high school reunion too. It was really good. But here's what my dad wrote on. Yeah, it was on a birthday card. One of my birthdays. He wrote this on a card, and I just loved it so much. I actually got kind of teary-eyed when he first gave it to me because it meant the world. Because I realized my dad's here when he shouldn't have been here. But it says, Shakeology is in my glass, and I will drink it all. You got me on this regimen. That was a super call. It doesn't cost a lot to buy, so I can keep my wealth. It wouldn't matter if it did. I'd rather have my health. Love, us. So my dad wrote the poem. It was from my mom and dad, us, for my birthday that year in 2011. How old did I turn? I was 33, 34. I'm 40 right now. I suck at math. And it's November of 2017. So that would have been 6 years ago. So I guess I'd have been 34. Yeah. That would have been my 34th birthday. My dad. And we started drinking Shakeology, I believe, when I was 31 or 32, something like that. So we've been on it a couple of years by that point. It's a beautiful poem. So in the end, my dad actually had more money despite buying Shakeology. So that part about I'd rather have my health than my wealth. You got to have both. So this is a good way to have your cake and eat it too. That's what I get from that, from reading that. So contact me if you'd like to try this. And it comes with a 30-day, automatic 30-day full refund guarantee because I want you to get some results and feel better. I don't want you to hurt in your pocketbook if this is something that it turns out that you don't like. But I think you will like it a lot. The point is there's not going to be any risk to try it because you get 30 days, which is probably about 15 days or 20 days or 25 days more than you'll need to know if you're going to want to keep it or not, right? I love you, Dad, very much. I sure do miss you. 20 days and counting. I haven't talked to you physically, but I talk to my dad more than God right now. And I can't wait to see him again when I pass on without, this is important, without discounting the finite time that we have here on this planet right now. My dad was a proud Navy man, and he also worked hard for his family, for me, my little brother, and my mom, so that we could have all the opportunities and make a wonderful life for ourselves. So I can't wait to see my dad again. But I'm going to make this life count, in part because it's what my dad wants, and I'm going to honor him every day for the rest of my life until I see him again. I love you, my friends, and feel free to share this. There could be a message in here that maybe somebody in your friends list could enjoy receiving to help them heal from something that's emotionally painful. And maybe there's somebody that might be interested in this superfood shake for them or for somebody that they love and care about. Who knows? Whatever could help. And a friend of mine told me that I need to learn how to become closer to my dad's soul than his body, which resonated with me because that's how we visually identify with people, is what they look like, right? I mean, I know my dad not just by his personality and so forth, but his body. I mean, I know what he looks like, and I miss, of course I miss his body. But if I can learn to be closer to his soul than his body, I think that's a pretty powerful healing message, you know? Another friend of mine told me that from their own experience that you never really get over something like this, and you're going to miss that person and it's going to hurt for the rest of your life and it doesn't go away. But I'm told that the wound that is created, the brain will create some kind of psychological scar tissue to cover the wound to keep the brain from going insane, and it makes it easier to live with so that you can be happy again or something like that. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. It's probably what's happening right now. My brain is developing psychological scar tissue over the wound, but a wound this deep, it never completely goes away. So that meant something to me as well. And maybe if you share this, you got some friends that could hear that and help them with whatever they're going through. So that's it. I'm going to say bye for now, and I'll be making more videos here soon. I miss making videos. This is the first one I've made since before my dad's passing. So, I love you all. Mwah. My website, tombirkenmeyer.com, just as you see spelled here on social media, tombirkenmeyer.com. I've also got fireyourboss.xyz. That one, if you notice, is not a .com. Somebody else got that before me. Good for them. This is a .xyz, so fireyourboss.xyz. That's more for people who are interested in decoupling their time from their income so they can live free. And in these most precious moments, like in my recent I'm going to make more videos specifically about this, but a preview of some of what's to come. When my dad was in the hospital for 12 days as an inpatient, I was there. I didn't have to go to work. I didn't have to check in with a boss. I didn't have to check my bank account to make sure bills would be paid and I could afford food. I was covered. I was covered because I focused on building passive and residual income for a period of time. And eventually, it took me 2.5 years of building passive and residual income. And you can contact me about that too. I'd love to do that with you. Basically, it took me 2.5 years of doing that in my precious minutes of spare time, because I had no time. And 2.5 years into doing that, the passive and residual money was so good that I could literally stop doing it and it would come in even without my personal involvement. And so going through these precious moments with my dad, and then being with my family after his passing and so forth, I didn't need to lift a finger for my income to make sure my bills would be covered. And I didn't have to run it past a gatekeeper to be able to take this time off beyond, typical 2-day bereavement. Is that what they do still? I haven't been in the job racket since forever, so I don't know, but I remember standard was 2 days bereavement. But I didn't have to worry about a gatekeeper who could say yes or no beyond the standard 2 days. And I didn't have to worry about money. I didn't have my time coupled to my income. It was decoupled because I made that upfront investment of my time and my precious minutes of time every day for 2.5 years. And that happened in February of 2010. It's November 2nd, 2017. My father passed away October 13th, and he was admitted to the hospital, I think, October 1st. So, yeah, because he was there for 12 days until he passed. And that entire time, because my time is decoupled from my income, I didn't have to lift a finger in those moments, and I didn't have to worry about a gatekeeper who could say yes or no. And that means the world. So you're going to have these moments in your life that are the most precious, that you're either going to be free or you're not. That's life. So I implore all of you to... Words can't express how important that is. I can't even... I'll have to sit down someday and think and write it out to put it into words, I guess, but I can't even think of them right now. It is beyond important that I don't care if you love your job or you hate your job. That's irrelevant. You can love your job all day long, but your time is still coupled to that income that you need, or you can't afford your bills and you starve for food. When your job becomes optional, that's cool. When it's not optional, you can love it all day long. That's not cool. So for those of you that are interested in that kind of thing, so that you can be present when you need to be present, especially during those most precious moments of not if, but when, then fireyourboss.xyz, and you can reach back out to me if that looks good to you, and we'll get started. It's one of my favorite things in the world, is helping people become free. And you can better believe my dad appreciated me being there. I was in the hospital 2 and 3 times every single day, morning, noon, night, every day. And after his passing, I was here with my family all day long. And I didn't have to lift a finger for my income or check in with a gatekeeper. I could be where I needed to be, and that means the world. All right, I'll close on that note, because that's the most important part of all of this. That's the most important part of my existence, is to be able to be where I need to be, when I need to be. And that's the most important part of your existence too, is for you to have the freedom to be where you need to be, when you need to be. And if you say otherwise, you're just flat out lying. Period. You need to be where you need to be, when you need to be, without needing to check in with a gatekeeper or worry about if you're going to be financially covered. That's everybody's reality. Every human being. So do something. And if you want to do what I'm doing, we'll do it. Or if there's something else, then whatever it comes from, it doesn't have to be me. But I've been there, done that, so I think I'm in a special place where I can help people. I know the way, because I've been there, done that. I did that so many years ago, and I'm still living it today. So I feel like I have a special place where I can help people. So cheers. I love you, Dad. I love you. Mwah. Bye for now.